come and join me today. It's time to make something beautiful. Well, today we're going to make this wonderful ring, very simple, that can be masculine or very dainty and feminine. So I made this one the other day and did all the treatments to it and gave it to my husband, and he absolutely loved it. Now, he and I have these matching wedding bands that are quite, I mean, they're pretty thick. And so it was nice to have something for him to wear that was maybe just a little thinner, and, you know, that his wifey Pooh made for him. So that was great to be able to make this for him. And you'll notice something that you never see on any of my pieces. I did Liver of Sulfur on this. So because this is going to be nice and simple, short and sweet, we're going to have time to go over using Liver of Sulfur and ProtectaClear. I know many of you have asked how to apply this to your pieces, especially copper, to prevent the tarnish and all that loveliness that happens naturally. So this is a great product, and I'm going to show you my very basic, very simple way that I apply this. Let's go over the few basic tools that we're going to be using to make this great, simple ring. Very simple basic tools that hopefully everybody has that's going to get you this great ring. You're going to have your chain nose flush cutters. If you choose to make the ring for your man or for whomever with the 14 gauge, you've got to have pliers that will cut the heavier gauge. So don't get frustrated and experiment with these and try to figure out what will they cut, because it will not cut anything heavier than 16 gauge. You're going to break your pliers. So make sure you have something a little heavier duty. And you know, we're making rings. Get your ring mandrel. Get both of your hammers just in case we want to do anything else. And, you know, we need to really tell this wire what to do, because we'll definitely use the nylon side of this hammer to strengthen our ring on the mandrel. And of course, you know, ruler, basic. For the ring wire, now, for the man's, I use the 14 gauge, something a little heavier, something a little beefier. And then for the ladies' dainty ring, I went with 16 gauge. So could you do, you know, the ladies' ring in 14 gauge? Yes, of course. One reason why I did that is because when I did the 14 gauge, and obviously I'm going to need a smaller size, it was a little harder to manipulate the 14 gauge in this diameter. 14 gauge worked great for that. That's pretty big. So that was another reason why I stepped down, to be able to get that wire inside that small diameter there. So another reason, but you can try it with the 14 gauge. Let's make this ring today, right now. I've gone ahead and cut my piece of wire and wiped it down really well with a cloth. This is 10 inches of 16 gauge. I'm going to do it with the 16 gauge today because I want to make sure we have enough time so we can go over Liver of Sulfur and the ProtectaClear. This 10 inches will give you plenty of room to work with whatever size you are wanting to make, whether or not it's the gentleman's or the lady's ring. And with a lot of these wire-wrapped rings, you've probably run across that if you want a certain size, you have to start at a size larger because of the wrappings that are underneath are going to take up territory on the inside of your ring, which in turn makes your ring smaller. So I've already made a 5. Let's go for a 6. So for that size 6, I'm going to wrap down here at a size 7. And I'm just placing my wire over that mark. You know, I'm just kind of eyeballing the middle and pressing firmly with my thumbs, going around to the back side. It doesn't matter which side is on top or the bottom on the back, just that they're crossing over nice and evenly and coming around back to the front. The crossover again and lay over your ring mandrel like this. Now at this point, I just take it off. I'm kind of done with the ring mandrel until we want to come back and strengthen and make any adjustments. Okay, a couple of things that are going to affect your results. And it all has to do with the angles. With this one, I have the knot is very close because the crossover point here was more dramatic, more of a 90 degrees. And you'll see what I mean by that when we get to that point. And then I brought in these loops really tight, which made a tight little knot. So for this one, you can see it's more of a soft, gentle crossover, and these loops are more teardrop and hanging out on the side. So really comes down to the angles. And if you happen to be working on something already, and you're like, why is that not working? It could be that it's just a slight change in your angle. So go back and see if you need to adjust any angles. The tiniest little off or going in the wrong direction will affect the outcome. So, or the look. And that's why this ring is really good for creating a custom look. So both of these arms have to cross over to the other side of the ring. And I kind of like this look where it's spread out just a little bit more. Now, if you want it tight, you want a tight knot, the closer the crossover is here in the middle, the tighter the knot. But I'm just going to have my thumb here as kind of a guide of where I want them to cross over. I'll cross over the one, and then I turn it, I put my thumb right in there, and do the same thing to the other side. And kind of a gentle, it's not dramatic. This is more 45 degrees. This one I did more of a 90 degree of this arm to get this tight little knot. It's kind of cute too, the more I look at it. And then we're going to keep grabbing this nice and firmly, and then pull that over, and then bring it straight down over the whole ring like that. And then turn over and do the same thing. Still grabbing this nice and firmly, and then just bring it over the ring. That just has a nice soft curve. It's not as dramatic. And this gives us a little measurement to cut. This is how we'll know what to trim. We just need to cut enough that's going to fit through the ring easily because we're using that 16 gauge. And then enough to make the little teardrop shape on the ends. So I just cut right around where it crosses the shank of this ring. That's where I know where to trim. Make sure I'm not cutting the shank of the ring. Okay. And then now that we've got it here, I kind of just bend it into position just a little bit. And you can keep pressing in with your fingers or reach through with some pliers. And this is another thing about angles. This is crossing over at like this 45 degree, but if I start making the loop where it's more down here, coming out like here, like 90 degrees, you're going to get a tight little loop. And I'm looking more for a teardrop. So I'm going to come in and start wrapping out here at this 45 degree. Angles, angles, angles really affect the result. I'm just going to leave that. I'm going to have to trim. I'm just going to leave that for now. I'm going to go and just do this again real quick so you exactly know what I'm doing. I'm going to press it in just a little bit to get it going. And I'm coming out here from this the 45 degree, sweeping back in. Not pulling it up tight, like that 90 degree. And then just pinch in for that sweet little teardrop shape. You can see it coming together, correct? All right, so now we need to trim. And I'll take the flush side of my cutters and just drop it down in that little, there's a little spot where it just fits so nicely. And trim that off. And then when you go to just kind of pinch in and press down, it'll fit down in there so perfectly. See? Almost can't even see it. And we can fine tune with our hammers and with some rotary tools and things like that to really just make it perfect. Let me push that in just a little bit more and trim this side. Oh, wrong way. Oh my goodness, that would have been bad if I'd done that. Come on now. All right. Pinch that in, close up the gap, and just see how it's sticking up just a little bit. I'm just going to press that down. And we got this going. Ooh, I just love that. I want to make a few little, it's kind of hard to explain. I just want to make a few little adjustments to this teardrop. Okay, here's a good example. Okay, what can I put behind here so you can see it better? See how this teardrop shape is sitting cattywampus or a little wonky? I want it to sit a little more flat. Flat is not the word. Let me just show you. I want it to sit, like this side is sitting up too much, and I want to bring up the other side of this teardrop shape a little more level. Okay, let me show you now. See how it's a little more level? Now I have to sit that edge down in there a little bit again. This side, the other side's not as dramatic, but still, this side is sitting up just a little bit more. So I just grabbed the whole teardrop shape itself, and I'm just turning it. So now it sits a little more level. Let's do a little strengthening and fine-tuning of our ring. And I'm just taking the nylon side of my hammer right on the ring mandrel. This is going to give us more of a round shape. And one thing I do is right where the teardrop is, I'm going to hammer right on that to kind of flatten that down. So we have more of a, it's kind of doing that before you hammer it down. You know, this is really got a lot going on in there, and this helps to make it just that more of a nice round shape on the inside of the ring. And that pop down, it's slightly bigger than a 6. What is that? A 6.25. But you see how we started down here at a 7, or somewhere I was down here on a 7, and it came back up to around a 6. So here is our final ring. Really lovely, getting ready for some liver of sulfur. But I wanted to show you from the other ones that I'd made, and talking about the angles again, and how the angles make such a difference. Each one of these was made with these crossovers anywhere from the 40, the 45, all the way down to this 90 degree. And it really makes a difference on how the ring, the final look is. This is more roundish, and as I migrated to more of a teardrop look, it just has a totally different look. So have fun with it and play with it and see how these different angles affect the final result. I went to go put this on. It fits absolutely none of my fingers. I have very small, oh, it kind of fits that one, kind of, but I have very, very small fingers. This is a size 4, so. Now that we've got our great new little ring and we want to add a little touch of dimension to it, we can use what is called Liver of Sulfur. And just a quick note, if you've never used this before, it stinks. Like rotten eggs. Well, not rotten eggs. It just smells like eggs, okay? And a few little instructions. You want to shake it a little bit, and 1 teaspoon per 12 ounces of some good hot water. Basically, I just, I get my water piping hot when I'm washing dishes. So that's kind of what I go by. And I've got a Pyrex dish here. It's got 12 ounces of water in it and already a teaspoon of our liver of sulfur. So I'm just going to drop this in there, and anywhere from, in real time, we're going to see it change. It will start to take a little, look already, how much time was that? And we have our piece. In this container, I have baking soda and just water dissolved together to neutralize and stop the oxidation effect. I'm using a plastic spoon. I did get gloves out and I have my glasses on. I forgot to mention that I do have my glasses on. I did not have my gloves on because they're so big and my hands are so little and I'm barely touching this. I just don't worry about the gloves too much. Now that it's nice and deactivated, we can give it a little rinse off in some nice hot soapy water. Getting everything off, the liver of sulfur, the baking soda, all that stuff. And then just dry off. This is so cool just like it is. Look at this gunmetal gray it turned it into. Now we have our nice little tarnished ring, our tarnished ring, oxidized ring, and let's reveal its beauty once again with the Dremel and some radial discs. I thought I wasn't going to do this, and then I remembered, Carrie, you have to do that part to reveal the copper once again. So let's switch on over to my other workstation. All right, now we've got our oxidized ring using liver of sulfur on this great little copper ring that we made today. And to reveal the copper once again, I'm using my radial discs. And these are great little tools, great little pieces to have. I went over these in last week's videos, but I got to do it again. It's an essential part of this system, the way of revealing the copper once again. I don't need to go all the way back to the roughest grits. I'm going to start probably at this red one, which is 220. This is your preference. This is whatever works for you. And then I'll work up to 600 and then finally 2500 to reveal a lovely shine and reveal this beauty once again. So I'll, once again, just letting you know, I've got my glasses on. And then one thing I always tend to do is I want to do the work for the Dremel. The Dremel does the work, so just kind of hold, but keep moving it around because you will start making, I don't know what to say, dents in there. You will start to take away the material of the ring in certain spots if you hold it too long. So you want it moving, but you don't need to do this with it. Just keep it moving around the surface. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And just a little note, say that you've got your final product, something you can do. If you've made this and it's sticking up in a spot and you couldn't get it to lay down or you got some lumps and bumps, you can alter the shape by going down, starting at that roughest grit. On this, it's got 80, it's an 80 grit. And you can really soften out and really bring out the shape that you want in your ring or whatever you're working on, because those rougher grits will actually remove. They're going to go in there and remove. Hello, can you go lay down? Go lay down to your bed. Go on. Go lay down. Clickety click nails. Please go lay down. Because I had that happen with this one, with this 14 gauge, it was, I don't quite remember what it was doing, but it was sticking up in some spot. I don't remember what it was. And I started off with this rougher grit, and it really brought out a nice shape and made it lay down nice and smooth. So you don't worry too much, especially if it's your first or second time making it, and it's not quite the shape or the look that you're going for. You can alter the shape a little bit with those rougher grits, but I didn't really feel like I needed to. And this is your preference as well. Reveal as much of the copper or remove as much of that oxidation as you want. I'm going to move up to the finer grits to really bring out that final polish. Purple is our next one. And finally, our gray 2500 grit for a nice polish. And there is the reveal. One last thing that I would do, but I don't know where my sandpaper is. I would take a little sandpaper, some fine sandpaper, and go in the middle, you know, inside the ring here, and remove that as well. One other thing that you could do is that you could use some pliers, tweezers, whatever you would have, and just dip the part that you want the oxidation on, and then you wouldn't have to worry about so much of the shank. But it does make a nice little accent here, even between the bands here. So that's an option as well. Let's do some ProtectaClear. I still have my little bowl of some soapy water here. I'm just going to give it one more little kind of clean in case there's some residue from doing the Dremel. You want your piece nice and clean of oils or any dirt or anything like that before you do the ProtectaClear. Nice and dry. And for this one, I am going to put my gloves on. I'm not so worried about that getting all twisted up in the Dremel. I'm always afraid of that. Plus, you know, another thing I do, I haven't mentioned this, but I keep my hair tied back when I'm doing that, because I definitely, Lord, we don't want our hair getting tied up in that. And make sure if you have to stop to grab anything, turn that Dremel off before you go to pick up anything, or no, we don't want that. Okay, so what I do is I have I have lots of different little workstations, but I'm limited in space. So what I do, as you see, this is where I always record, but I have a little tray here where I always do my ProtectaClear. So it helps with your work surfaces. I use cookie sheets, you know. It just kind of helps to keep things moving, and then I don't have to pick up and move around. It just remove the whole cookie sheet. It's just really nice. These are just a couple little things that I had been working on that I had coated. They have gotten their second coat. They could go for a third coat, but today I'm going to show you that ring. I'm going to make a little space here. What do you think about this little choker? Oof, man, I can't wait to wear that. Okay, here we've got our ring. It could use a little more shaping, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. I really want to get to the ProtectaClear. So it comes in these, well, for what I have, comes in this little metal jar. And when you first get it, there is going to be this real big pain in the butt thing on the inside that you need to get out. I couldn't get it off. I had to get my husband to get it. So it's just this liquid in there, and it kind of smells like really strong kind of a sealant, paint, nail polish kind of thing. So make sure you've got some ventilation going, got a fan going, got a window open or something, which I do. It's a lovely spring day here in where I am, so I've got lots of ventilation. And you're going to want to use look at this cheap old brush, but it's a natural bristle brush. And I used to do Q-tips. That doesn't really work. I also dipped. You can just dip straight down into that, and it was just too much. So now I have migrated to just using a little paintbrush. It does nice, even, thin coats. And if you've done any kind of nail polish or anything like that, thin coats. You know, several coats, 2 to 3 of very thin coats is what you want. So I've got our little ring here, and a little tip. Do not dip in and then wipe off the excess on this upper rim, because when you go to put the lid back on, you will seal the lid back to the jar, and you'll have to go through all this rigmarole to get the lid off. So when you get your little bit of ProtectaClear on there, dab off underneath that lid. And then I still have that paper towel, and I dab off excess. And then just really nice, slow, and you can get those little bristles down in there, down in little holes and gaps. That's what I'm saying, that the little bristle brush works fantastic. Get it all up underneath. And one brush load will do the whole piece. It really goes a long way. It's hard to see because it's clear. ProtectaClear, ta-da! But one little brush load of the sealant is really all you need. And make your brush stroke slow. If you go like this, it makes the bubbles, just like it would with nail polish. The application is very similar to nail polish. 2 to 3 thin coats. And if you, to cure it, it takes about 4 to 5 days air dry. I mean, it's dry to the touch and not very long at all, but cured is going to take 4 to 5 days. And you can speed it up in the oven. Now, I've never done it in the oven, but you can speed up the curing process in an oven. You'd have to go to ProtectaClear's website to figure out what that is. I cannot tell you because I don't know. I've never done it. And that's about it. Just let it dry to the touch. I'm using these great little, these are great because you don't actually have to hold it. The tweezers do all the work for you. Now when it comes to clean your brush, I just have a little bit of acetone and one of these little brush cleaners for like when you're doing your nails. And just clean it off really nicely and dry on a paper towel, and then your little brush will be ready for next time. Now once you've got your 1 to 3 coats, the other little step to prevent tarnish and to keep your piece long lasting is just use a plastic bag. It really does help. I'm going to seal this jar of ProtectaClear up. If you got any excess on this rim or on the lid, make sure you get it off first before you seal it back up. This is what I'm talking about when the gloves are too big. These are small. You see why I don't use gloves that much. Well, here we are with our final pieces. Wasn't that a fun, simple little project? You didn't even have to worry about having the exact same beads and will my beads work and will I be able to find my beads? You just needed some 16 gauge or 14 gauge, whatever gauge you would like. And you've got a great ring for yourself or a matching his. Or a great matching his and hers set. This is what this is going to become. I can't wait to wear this, one for myself and one for my husband. I'm still holding it with the tweezers because it's not quite dry. This is another great way. You can prop this up and it can dry and not touch any surfaces. I hope you really enjoyed that and doing something new with maybe some new tools. That was, believe it or not, the second time I've ever used Liver of Sulfur. So if I've got any of the steps wrong, please let me know. I followed directions on the bottle and I did a lot of research online, and I believe I got all the steps correct. It came out nice, so I'm pretty sure we did it well together, and I'm so glad you joined me. I look forward to next week being here with you as always. Let's make something beautiful again together soon. Whether it is the man's or the gentleman's, whether it is the man, whether or not it's, shut up, you doofus. Jeez, I kind of like that. Ay, ay, ay. Look at this donkey show. Doesn't fit any of my fingers. Good Lord. This fits none of my fingers. Shut up. Really, the dog is licking and drinking right now. La la la. Susan. Thank you.